And when you start out as a company, it's pretty easy because in the perfect world, you have a good builder and a good salesperson. And these two people can
Yeah.
talk.
In a perfect world, yes. They
Yeah.
understand each other, right? And they like
Yeah,
each other,
exactly.
and they have a room to express their opinions and just have this, let's say, ambiance of us being able to critique without being offended.
Okay. But if we're
Wonderful
talking,
world.
yeah, exactly. And if you talk about an early stage startup and you don't
Yeah.
have this atmosphere and this culture, don't you think this company is doomed to fail if you don't start out there when everything is all green and there's rainbows shooting out the behinds of the unicorns and everybody's so happy?
It's a good question. I haven't really thought of it in the sense like, of course, if everyone is just defending their own territory and there's no collaboration and not helping out, that's of course not good. But I also think that's why you quite often in the beginning exchange people.
Right. And then so now we're talking really early stage when you're
Yeah,
forming the company.
exactly.
You maybe you have signed or you're about to sign some kind of founders agreement, preferably. Some people don't do that, but at least you're talking about building something together.
Yeah.
And if you don't feel that magic, then that this is a person I want to spend 7 years with, 10 years with, a decade of my life, spending more time with this person than I spend with my spouse,
Yeah.
probably. And if you don't have that feeling of this is so great, I want to see this person so much every day, then shouldn't you look for another co-founder then?
For the people who are listening to this is probably the thing that everyone is like, yeah, I should have done that. I felt it inside of me that there was something not really right, but we did it anyway. And 3 years down the line, we just what it could have been. So I think a lot of people know this after they've done their first, whatever it is, a project or a venture. But
Mm.
when they start, I think you're not that picky, you're not that cocky. You're just happy that someone wants to do it with you.
Exactly. Yeah, I can recognize that feeling. You're happy that someone with a complementary skill set
Yeah,
wants to pick something up and do it with you, and we'll figure stuff out along the way.
exactly.
If it is a decade long commitment,
It's
I
not
mean, I
the best
guess
way.
no. And also, if you compare it to finding a life partner to build a family with, maybe
Mm.
you spend more than a decade with such a person, but still, it's also a big commitment. And then you don't really settle with the first one who has the same features that you're looking for, long hair, the other type of body often. That is the opposite of what you have. Like that's not enough, right? You need to have a connection. You need to feel like you can build something together, a family
Yep.
and a life. And the same thing should go for a business.
It should. And as I think both of us notice in our companies, even when you have 10 or 20 people, you see these like small differences that are becoming annoyances that might, if they don't fix it as a team,
Yeah.
that breaks it up. And maybe
Right.
someone has a majority and can do whatever they want, but I mean, most of the time they don't.
Yeah, but you're not in that stage where somebody's boss, so you need to be able to build together.
I
Uh,
would love to see your companies because in some of the ones I'm looking in, and I haven't invested in them, but yes, they're both co-founders, or one was a founder and the one's come is in very early as a co-founder, but you still have this disparity in
Hierarchy.
power. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
even if it's a
Yeah.
small team, and it's so easy to see when you have these interviews and we start to talk to them and understand where are they, and you just see that one of them is doing all of it, and it just this is a
Ooh.
team. This is a team. I want to talk to
Yeah.
both of you or all four of you,
Yeah.
or whoever it is, not
Yeah.
just one of you. So
Yeah.
I see that often, but that's not what we're going to talk about today.
No. So let's fast forward a little bit.
Yeah.
So the team they have created some kind of rudimentary MVP. They have one or a few pilot customers. They maybe have onboarded the first extra developer. I think there should always be a developer on the team from the start. And maybe they haven't extended sales, or maybe they have have started to think about marketing and sales and these things because now they have something. They have a pilot. They have a paying customer to, but now it's time to scale a
Mm.
little bit. It's not scaling like we have perfect product market fit, but you have some kind of problem solution fit. There is a
Mm.
problem, a customer is feeling it, they want to talk about it, they want to pay for it. So how do you transition well from that small team where everybody knows everything that is going on? You're having constant checkups with each other. That is very time efficient because there is not so many people to talk to. Maybe there are two, three, four people total, and then you start to become 8 people, 10 people, 15, 20 people, and there is different people in different departments or
Yeah.
functions in a company. How do you structure such a setup that you're still decently time efficient?
From a sales perspective,
For
or
example,
just are you just asking me how I would like to organize my company?
yeah, I think that's interesting because right now I'm helping one of the portfolio companies with exactly this. They are
Ah,
eight
okay.
people or 9 people, and I already see signs of building silos, and they are very development heavy. They are I think there are 4 developers, or you could say actually 7 developers and 1 salesperson. And the salesperson is also investor relations and everything, and he's the glue in everything, in my perspective. And then there is different functions within the development. So you have some kind of front end, you have some kind of back end, but they all need to work together and serve these 10 clients or so that you're having.
And is this a product with a high margin so you can actually have salespeople, or is this a product service that has to be sold by itself?
It has the potential to be high margin,
Oh,
but
okay.
right
So
now
you
the
could
order
have real
value, yeah,
salespeople.
yes, 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 and I think they should, because I think the clients will be paying. Well, this is also something I need to talk to them about, and I'm already talking like how do you fix the unit economics, because it's maybe they're not charging enough,
Yep.
but it's also you need to up the value that you're delivering to be able to charge
Yep.
more. But I already see signs that they have started to structure the companies around functions. So they have the back end, they have the front end.
Everyone's sitting at the same place, or they're remote.
No, completely remote pretty much. They have an shared office space, but they have some developers in another country in
Mhm.
Europe, and they also transition from Swedish language to having English as the common language. And a lot of people work from home and such, remote by setup.
And the geography they're selling in, is it global already, or is it all still in Sweden or another
Nordic,
country? Nordics.
Sweden, and expanding to Nordics right now. Yeah.
Okay. And this salesperson, is he traveling 250 days a year?
He's not traveling. Mostly it's located in Stockholm and doing meetings there, and virtual meetings and physical meetings for sure.
Okay.
But so in my opinion, like how to structure a development organization is based around value
Mhm.
streams. So you think about like what is the value we provide to the customer, and what do we need to do in the company? What kind of functions need to be involved, slot into this one to deliver this value? And then you structure your conversations and your meetings and your backlogs and everything around that. And now when they are 8 to 10 people, in my opinion, they should go to having maybe 2 teams, but and this is going to be the big thing, I think, from how they were thinking at first. With they wanted to have functional teams where you have a backend team and a front end team, and then you send work to each other. I want to have the verticals, value streams. This is also how you can scale, because then you can extend with more value streams parallel to each other for different offerings, maybe, or different types of customers that you're serving.
I'm not as technical as you are, but from what I've gathered and learned from people around me, is this if you develop something that's not connected directly with what the customer will use, like say you're fully backend and all you're supposed to do is fix the easy to scale up, basically, just
Mm-hmm.
make it super easy. You
Mm.
don't really care what the customer sees. You just want to make every single code to be tighter and load faster. That's all you care about. And then you have your cloud, which is everything Google, Azure, or Amazon. We have enough space. We're good.
Mm.
If that's what the only thing they care about, I see an issue, because you're going to create this disconnect
Yeah,
very fast. So I understand why you want to have teams like this, because then you can actually hopefully maintain the objectives of what it is that we're here for, and not just
exactly.
for you to create super smart code and pick up stuff from GitHub.
So that's like the team vision and understanding why we're building stuff, because then also people can bring in ideas
Mm.
and thoughts into the process of what to build. Otherwise, it becomes requirement specifications from some kind of product owner, product manager writing, okay, build this, build that, and then yes, I'm a code monkey, I'll write code, and you don't get the most out of the brains of these people. But if you look at it from a sales perspective, because I also have some companies a little bit further ahead in the journey that I've been advising a little bit, and they have I think they use market qualified leads, sales qualified leads, and to me it seems like there is handoffs there. And I've always been thinking like this thing that I talked about before, right, is something called agile methodologies, and it's been around in development for quite a long time. But I never heard about agile sales.
Me neither.
And it's always, I was thought about this because sometimes in larger organizations you have people booking meetings, you have the marketing delivering leads and the booking meetings, and then another senior sales rep showing up to the meetings doing the calls, and then you sign the deal and then you hand it off to a customer success or someone who is the account manager. You make a division between the green field and the hunters and the farmers and the maintainers. So like here it would be really interesting to understand what you think would be an interesting setup to create more flow, I guess.
One of the most common things that I see in these companies is that, let's say, do you know who Lenny is? The pod? Okay, it's a really good pod for product managers, and he posted a tweet or X not that long ago when he just showed the 10 first recruits in 20 unicorns.
I saw that one, yeah.
Yeah, it was really fun to see when was the first salesy person to come in, because it wasn't always but with the first three. And take that to the side. When I see the companies I talk to, most of the time you have sales over here and marketing over here. And that's the first thing I put together. Because if they're not working together, we are not going to do something good. Because most salespeople, just as coders, they're lazy.
Yeah.
That's why we have open source, because I can just use someone's code that they wrote, even if it's simple, many, many years ago, and just download it's done. I don't have to write it myself, even if it's only 5 lines, right? It's the same with sales. So what I usually do, if I can join a company or help them, is to put together sales and marketing, so we all understand what's the actual tonality, what are the words that are working with our customer. And all of us, marketing and sales, need to be in sales meetings. Either we record them so they can watch them after, or they join them so they start to understand what's going on. Because if we are not 100% aligned here, it doesn't matter if we have customer success or a meeting booker or perfect outreach. We're going to fuck it up somewhere along the way anyway. Because you have this, and I think another video I did with someone else, we talked about the nurturing phase. Many salespeople, when they get a lead, whether you call it a marketing qualified lead or what we would actually say a sales qualified lead, which means it's supposed to be closer to a sales, we're still not doing the work. Like I recently met several account executives for different companies. They have 10 to 100 accounts they're supposed to work with, but they get all the commission, and maybe they could get all the commission from working with 2 or 3 of them. They're never going to talk to those other 97. And that's a huge issue for the company, because then it won't grow as they want, right?
Yeah.
So when you have all of these things taken into consideration, first thing, sales and marketing together. If customer success, put them there as well.
Yeah, and so what you said there is that you created a waste, I think, because marketing, they created these leads, they handed them off to sales, and they're like, yeah, I met my targets, I created the leads,
I'm good.
Yeah. I'm good, and I get, maybe they even have some kind of monetary compensation based on that they delivered these leads that they were supposed to, and they spent quite some time and effort to create these leads. But the sales representatives, they can meet their quotas without following up on these leads.
Yep.
And for them, it's more time efficient in their own heads to spend time on a few customers, and they can be. I'm not saying everybody's fat and lazy, but maybe some are fat and happy, and only spend time on that.
Why would you want to work more than you have to if you can make a shitload of money just talking to a few companies?
But from a company's perspective, the whole company's perspective, then you lost a ton of value from not keep working on these leads. So
exactly.
And here, in here, as you say, like if you put them together and give them a common goal, and in development, in product development, there was actually this report released by McKinsey, this huge consultancy company that maybe putting my neck out here, but maybe they should stay out of how to build products. In that sense, they maybe focus on strategy, because they released a report on how to measure individual developers' performance, and it's extremely hard to measure individual developers' performance. They had measures like lines of code, for example, which is a super terrible measurement to be using,
Yeah,
and
yeah, it is. Even I understand that.
yeah, horrific. And this created quite an uproar on LinkedIn from a lot of people that is good with agile methodologies. But
It's
what
like
I'm getting,
measuring how many meetings I have as a salesperson. That doesn't
yeah,
say anything either.
yeah,
Or how many
exactly.
emails I send. Yeah.
Exactly. So what you want to do is measure performance based on a team level. So a development team, they work together. They're supposed to work together and help each other out. They shouldn't say like, I don't have time to spend time with you to do something. I'm going to do this on my own because I'm focusing on my metrics. But your metrics should be the team's metrics. And if you transition that to the sales part, then what about having the salespeople and the marketing people having a joint budget to meet?
This is going to be a point when people come here. They're going to be very excited to hear what am I going to say here, because this is going to make someone very pissed off. Because most salespeople, and I love salespeople, they don't care about anyone else but themselves. It's wonderful because a salesperson, it can make you as an owner or you as a product developer or whatever, they can make you feel so special, so good because they can create this relationship. But when they go home, when they get the monthly salary, if that's gonna go down because someone in my team did not perform, I leave. I just bring my customers with me and go to another company where I can get a better commission. But I
Mm,
don't have to be dependent on someone else. And I've seen
mm,
this so many times because I like the team thinking because we can grow faster as a team and the company can grow fast as a team. And this is usually what I come down to is a difference between an owner's mindset and employee mindset.
yeah.
And if you look at a salesperson that says, okay, hey team, I'm going to potentially lose 10% of my commission because all of us won't make it work. And I see that you can go to big like consultancy firms. Let's say the whole company is not delivering, but you have a domain or department or a function in a specific whatever that are growing like crazy and they don't get their extra bonuses. Do you think they want to stay there? No.
No, okay. So you're raising a valid point that the world and the market is what it is. You can't change the whole world and the environment you're in. What you can do is create the environment for your company. And if the assumption is correct that you're making that no salespeople cares about the team, uh, and you can't find these kind of people, then maybe you need to adapt to that. But if you look at a pretty early stage company where you have a founder who is sales oriented and you have a founder that's tech oriented, and then growing that with a few people, then they are in essence working like that. They are working as a team for the company's best because their incentives is the value increase of the company itself, not the salary
Yeah.
that they take home with the bonus.
But that's the thing.
So
If you
yeah,
have salespeople that are having a commission
yeah,
that is like, let's say it can, if you deliver more, you actually get even more. Or if you have salespeople that have a fixed salary no matter what. I don't like the fixed salary. It's a bit like retail. You have, no matter if you are selling 10, let's say, suits or one, you still get the same salary.
mm,
And over again, we have reports saying, oh, money is not actually driving behavior because
mm,
after 1 or 2 months, when you have this higher salary because you did it, you're just going to continue going back to being lazy. And that's probably true. But if you would create a fixed salary for everyone and then reduce that with, let's say, 30%, and that would be the joint bonus, it could work, but you won't attract the type of salespeople many people are currently wanting to have in their teams.
mm,
The rainmaker, they don't like that.
yeah. So you mean that they can get a more high-paying job somewhere else, and they're
Yeah.
not interested in the long-term potential payoffs of having an exit in 5 to 7 years because they've built a unicorn.
Yeah. If I can make it, let's say, just to make it a round number, if I can make 400,000 euros a year by catering to 2 to 3 customers, and all I have to do is just maintain that they use the product, I don't want to be able to lose some percentage of that because a person on the side didn't meet their quota, which is then to get in our team quota. I want to get my 400,000 euros every year and just do that. And if that disappears, I'll leave. I'm not saying I would do that. I'm just saying that's how salespeople think
Yeah,
that
I
are the
understand.
top salespeople.
But then again, I have some companies that I'm advising that is asking me like, well, maybe we should hire a senior salesperson because we're not that
No,
experienced with sales.
we're not.
No, but how are they supposed to be able to grasp and fix the complicated process of selling complex software with large organizations, different stakeholders, different hoops you have to jump through and decisions and such. I mean, complex sales is by definition complex.
Yeah.
It takes some time to master that, and maybe also they don't have the net of contacts in the space that they want to really establish their product in.
But let's make it easy. I think too many people are using their existing networks. Let's say that you get an investor, a big investor, they know salespeople, and most of the time that salesperson is a bit older, has many contacts with older people, and that's supposed to open up the doors.
Yeah.
Even if it open up the doors and you're allowed to get in, you still have like 15 things you need to deliver on.
Mm.
And a senior salesperson, if you don't have everything else we discussed before, that everyone is aligned, marketing and sales are working together, they're still going to mess it up.
Mm.
Because as soon as they step out, which they have to do sometime here, it'll crack. So what I usually tell people, and it's what I'm currently doing one of my investments, is that we know we need to find 10 people in the world. That's it. And these 10 people should be having real, let's say, like email lists or CRMs with thousands of people in our market. They're not going to be new. They're not going to be senior. They're not going to be tired. And we're going to give them shitloads of money to open up those markets. It's not that we say, okay, if you have this success and that success, you might become rich. You're going to become rich from the very get-go because we know how big it can become. And
Mm.
when you start thinking like this, understanding what the markets actually requires from you, then you can do it differently. But most of the time, when you're smaller and you're not thinking, they're still small. When you're thinking in this way, you say, okay, I just want someone that this person I trust knows as a good salesperson. That person comes in, doesn't really care that much because they are pretty much set. They start to say what you need to do and fix, might adjust a few things, and they have to start lifting the phone. They won't because they will just go through an existing network and say, hey, can we do some meetings? I just want to. And they'll do the first 2 or 3 meetings. They will drag it out for 2 or 3 months so they can get some compensation for that. And after that, nah, it's not that easy to sell. Sorry, guys. It's not for me. I see it over and over again. So
Mm.
you should not get a senior salesperson unless you really know it's a person who wants to work hard. And that's not very common.
Ooh, no, interesting, especially that part about activity and having a high activity. But getting back to what you said with a network and somebody with a network, because I've also been deep diving a little bit about in influencer marketing because of a case that I was looking at, and I see some similarities to what you said there because maybe they don't have the email addresses to these potential clients, but they influencers, especially micro influencers, they are in a position to influence other people in a specific subject.
Yeah, of course. That's the whole business model.
Yeah, and but extending that thought then, so if you want to have someone on your team to build your business, a business developer or a salesperson or whatever, so don't go for the lazy seniors that is only gonna be reusing their old net of contacts. What
What you
it
should
must
do?
be Yeah, exactly. It must be extremely hard to find these people with with this net of contacts, and they
Yeah, it
also,
is. But that's the same thing when we started and discussed, okay, so if I start a company with a friend of mine, and there's still something that's not really there, but I want to do
yeah,
because you're here, it's because it's easier and it feels like you did your thing. I have someone here.
yeah,
When you really start to think about, okay, if we want to succeed in our growth, our planned growth,
mm,
maybe we already have investments in, or we're still doing it on a shoestring, whatever. We need to be extremely careful because charismatic salespeople, there are an abundance of them. But
yeah,
charismatic salespeople that are still willing to get no's and willing to be, okay, this didn't work out. How can we iterate on this?
yeah,
It's very easy for me in an interview to see if this a salesperson who wants to iterate, or is this a salesperson that's fat and happy? But a person that's not doing sales, they will not see that in an interview. They'll be like, oh yeah, this sounds so good. This is
yeah,
exactly what
because
we
you're
need. Because
charismatic.
I don't know what I should look out for.
Yeah.
And then yeah, then you're done.
But if you want to have someone with the correct net of contacts in an area, but then also you're in the situation where maybe you don't even know your beachhead market. You have an idea that you're solving a problem. You talk to a few potential customers. You have a few pilots going on. It seems to be something there, and
Mm.
then you start having conversations with really influential people in that space. Even your value offering is not that defined yet.
Yeah.
And then you sign a contract with them, or as you said, pour shitloads of money on them. You might be trying to get into the wrong space.
I think so. From my understanding, own experience, you should never hire a salesperson that's not on that has equity and sees that early on,
Yeah,
unless it's a person who loves the iteration part. Because if you are
right.
not selling as a salesperson in the first few weeks, or feeling that you have you get the response that you want in your meetings,
Yeah,
you won't continue, and that's very normal. And that's something I think a lot of people forget.
yeah,
I just want to give you a very I think it's a very telling and easy way to understand how lazy salespeople are today. One of my very good friends, he runs a big CRM firm and done an exit, really cool stuff. And when we meet regularly every month, they just talk because it's fun. When he was younger, he had at least 4 to 8 meetings a day,
oof,
non-digital.
oof,
When he is recruiting salespeople today, he sees that their activity rate is if they have 3 meetings a week, they feel like they're doing good work. And for us, when we talk about this, it's absolutely insane. And then that's a charismatic person that thinks they're a good salesperson that will definitely bring attention to get a job in your startups. And all they do is 3 meetings. How fast can you iterate? How fast would you actually do what you need to do as a startup if you only have 3 things going on per week? It should be at
mm,
least 20.
mm,
And that's something that I see more and more. And it's scary because you still pay them quite a lot.
mm,
And they also are in the way for the really good ones because non salespeople don't understand how important activity rate actually is to very fast understand what is the value proposition that this type of customer understands
mm,
and actually wants to pay for.
mm.
Because it can be words, like just one word here or there can be the whole difference. So I just
Yeah,
want to share that with you because that's something I noticed a lot of startups miss out on.
yeah, and I think it's a little in the early stages. It's a little bit blurry between what is sales and what is product development because
Yeah, it's the
ultimately
same
it's
thing.
yeah, you want to understand what kind of pain the customer is having so you can
Yeah.
address it. The difference between a mature company and an early stage startup is that the mature company has a really hard time to cater to other needs than what they have products to solve for. While a startup, they are trying to find these really aching pains and then addressing that and building a product based on that. So in that sense, the product manager and the salesperson is kind of the same role.
Yep. As long as the person is meeting people, actual
Exactly.
people.
And here it's very interesting to me to understand. your opinion on why isn't people talking to more potential customers? What is stopping them? Like,
They're
is there
afraid.
something interesting? Could you
They're
elaborate on
afraid.
that?
Of
Yeah,
course. And this is why I have why I want people who are not afraid of talking to people, because you need to lift the phone. You need to
yeah,
you need to be like this. One of the things I usually do when you go and buy your groceries and you look at the cashier, whether it's a guy or a girl, do you
mm,
ask that person how they're doing, if they have a good day? Because they're just looking down like this and say hi and look down and do all this stuff, and then they move on.
yeah,
If you just say, "Hey, how are you doing?" How's They look up and like they smile because someone saw them.
mm,
If you're that type of person, you're
mm,
curious. You want to know things. You want to understand
mm,
what's going on. If you're not doing that, you will not be able to actually get all the no's. And everyone says that, no, I don't want to talk to you. And that's what people don't like, because
yeah,
they are conflicting that they are bad. No,
right.
it's not you. I don't care. If you don't like me, that's fine. I'm still going to be me.
So
That's
it's
what I think
the
is the problem.
so it's the fear of rejection, this
Yep.
old psychological thing that we
Yep.
have, being pushed out of the herd, not being part of the group, the tribe, and if we are alone, they will die on the savannah. And this is what we're afraid of when we're approaching people. And it's the same thing with, people have, when I was a lot younger, approach anxiety when you go to the club and want to talk to someone to get as girlfriend or something like that. And
Well, I used to do pickup stuff, when you do peacocking and you negging and all the stuff that guys figure out, this is what I need to do to be able to get good looking girls.
right,
And
yeah,
some things that was always happening, the really ugly guys that just kept on asking, they could get the chance to talk to nice girls, because nice girls were getting people coming up to them all the time and just being obnoxious because they were super drunk when they got there. If you're
right,
just being nice and keep on going up and do the negging,
yeah,
you might have fun. But if you're not willing to get into the arena and do that, you will go home by yourself every single night.
mm. Hmm.
And I have
So
friends who just, I love this. You can cut it out after. But I have friends who just walked around and asked everyone in the club, hey, do you want to go home and have sex with me? And he got like 9 no's, but the 10th person said yes, and they just went home. He didn't even stay that long. That was the only thing he was out for. So he went home with the girl that said yes. He
okay,
just, that's an approach.
yeah,
Worked for him and for that
keep
girl.
keep keep the high activity to do the closing. Uh,
Exactly.
so it's very similar, but because it's also about, so you can get into this situation then when you don't dare to talk to enough customers, and and I always thought that it's about getting that meet and asking for the meeting. But even when there are services out there that can help you set you up with that conversation with a potential customer, they my experience is that these startup people, they still don't want to have these meetings with the clients. They still find up excuses for not going into the meetings, even though they are pre-booked for them. And here, I maybe they are afraid for reaction in the meetings also, that their ideas will be shot down. But I mean, isn't that really putting your head into the sand,
Yeah,
doing that?
of
Because
course.
it's gonna come sooner or later. If you keep building based on your own delusional ideas without talking to the customers, then the revenue surely won't come, and the
But
investors surely won't
I, th-
come.
I think this is a, like when you talk about Steve Jobs,
Yeah,
a lot of people think that he did what he just thought was the right thing.
yeah,
No, he did no understanding or market research to figure out what it was that we wanted. And that's
mm,
so wrong, because of course he did. Even if it's not like, okay, I think this my idea, I'm the only one who knows this. That's not how it really worked out from my understanding, not being in it. So it might be completely off. But what I think a lot of these startup founders think is that I'm that smart too. And since
mm,
I'm that smart, I know more than what the actual customer knows.
yeah,
So I don't need their feedback.
Mm.
And that's the issue. That's like the whole reason why you and I started talking, because we had that idea with our product and realized, okay, we need to do lots of changes because it's not working the way we thought it would work.
Mm.
But we had to talk to
Exactly.
someone to get that.
Exactly. And then these founders that I talk to, they sometimes say that, well, I better spend the time building something that I'm pretty sure is correct than spending the time talking to others. I don't have time to talk to the customers. I want to spend the time building my product. But then it comes down to, like, do you have an iterative mindset using hypotheses to, validate these ones? And even mature companies, they do have the luxury of having customers that is steady with them, and they are, it's hard to change people's behaviors. If you buy one kind of toothpaste and you keep buying it, they will have to mess it up a lot before you change your toothpaste because you made that decision a long time ago. But for a startup, it's not like that. You need to push someone over the edge to change their behavior, and this is the hard part. And to be able to do that, you need to understand what's going on in the customer's head. So to me, that iteration cycle, that hypothesis that you're putting up, it's like, I think I can, if we do this thing, then they will come, and
But
let's try it out in some way.
there's one thing there, I think you know it, and many startups don't. Because if, let's say, we have a existing system that our customers that we would like to have are using here, we know that there's one feature here that the customers are not very satisfied with, and we're going to make that 5 times better than it exists today. You and I know this company will not succeed. They will not be enough.
Yeah.
It has to be like 10 times better and very easy to migrate. Otherwise, they won't do it.
Mm.
And if you in the startup don't know what's going to be 10 times better,
Mm.
and the customer can also say, yeah, that is 10 times better,
Mm.
then you're probably invested in a bad company.
Yeah, but looping back also to, like, how do you build this network? Because I have
Mm.
another startup that I'm coaching a little bit, and I'm even transitioning into. They do have a lot of client conversations, and I have some experience there. So I'm saying, like, okay,
Yeah.
but complex sales, you need to think like this and so on. And what they have managed to do is they managed to reach out to global multi-billion-dollar companies and get meetings with the right people in these meetings cold, because I think they have found something so painful for these people that they cut through the noise from all the other salespeople. So they found an entry to one of their potential clients now. I think that was even called that one, and then they just made copies, basically client copies of them. These companies are the same. We're gonna reach out to the same kind of people there, and I think they booked 4 meetings in one week based on this, and they also want, yeah, exactly, really great, and they also want them to come back really quickly to show proposals and have the iteration with them, which is like, when you see that kind of traction, it's more valuable, I think, than anything if you're an early stage company, that you really are attracting people, can get access to people's time in that sense.
And what you just referred to, that I think is what every single VC in firm are looking for, because that is potential product market fit, that's potential marketing product fit, so to say.
Yeah.
And that's why most companies are never going to get there, because you need to cut through the noise.
Yeah. So then going to the talk about metrics, because we started talking about metrics.
Mm.
What are good metrics that you can measure? And I think I wrote somewhere on my blog somewhere early on, like in the beginning, my assumption is that you want to measure activity metrics in the beginning. You want to have a high iteration speed, and looking at numbers such as revenue when you're an early stage startup is completely idiotic, because it doesn't say anything, because it will take too long to build it and you can't adjust. But if you are measuring, for example, customer insights or customer interactions, a number of, now we're getting back to what you said, that activity is maybe not a good thing, but I think actually early stage it is a good thing. Like, okay, we're meeting 20 customers every week, we're having 20 conversations every week, and we're learning this fast, and we're trying this many experiments. Then you will be much faster at finding exactly what you should do. But the question, like, what do you think is good metrics for good stage, for what stages of the company? If we start from the company formation to, well, once you really hit the scaling part, when you raise the A round and starting onboarding customers. Pick any phase that you think is interesting.
Like how I have been thinking up until now, because I think this is gonna change the more seasoned I get in this space.
Hmm.
It's what I'm looking for when it comes to metrics. It's do they, the companies, do they have a clear understanding that they are very wrong? And what I mean by that is when they are progressing, how are they getting their feedback? So what I
Mm.
want to understand fast, because it's feedback all the time, and that's why everything I talk about is compounding interest, just keep on iterating. I just want
Mm.
to feel that there are things moving all the time and that they're willing to stay firm but also adjust. I
Hmm.
haven't put that into say, I haven't asked a single time how many insights did you have last week? I haven't asked that. I have not asked how many meetings did you have this week? What I'm asking for and looking for is okay, how quick are you guys iterating? And when I see the roadmap, if there is one, because most of the time there is, but it's usually very undetailed and not very interesting. If it is interesting and it's connected to when they want to do different things with their customers, then I'm interested. Because then I see they have really thought it through. And I say, what did that look like 3 months ago?
Yeah, exactly. This last thing, what did it look like 3 months ago? And
Mm.
this is why it's so interesting to follow companies for a while, and maybe you
Yeah.
don't make the investment the first touch point you have with them. I think founders should be aware of that. That all the seasoned investors do this. They want to have a touchdown where they get asked for some key metrics that the customer is asking for, and then see what happened. What happens in 3 months? Because everybody thinks the hockey stick is going to come, but it's better to have
Yeah.
seen that the hockey stick have started than the promises of it. But I actually do ask like how many customers did you talk to last week? And I'm trying to get it really specific, like last week. What happened that week? Oh, we were busy racing around and talking to investors. Oh, how many investors did you talk to? Like the activity number is very important. Are they sitting there and fiddling around with a pitch deck, or are they actually trying to get feedback? Because meeting investors is also feedback. Maybe it's not
Yeah.
always as valuable as basically it's about like, can you sell the company? So it's not the same as selling the product, but it can have some kind of
I'm probably
similarities.
gonna incorporate those type of questions after this talk today. Maybe one or two just to see how quick, how what is their activity rate? I'm
Yeah,
gonna do that.
I like that a lot, and I also like the question. I have a few ones that I like, but the other one around that is like, what was the last insight that you had? What was the last thing that was like, oh, whoa, we didn't know that. Who said that, and how are you going to use that insight going forward? And if they said that, we know, yeah, we always know what the customers wants, and we don't need to talk to them anymore. Oh, this is a big red flag.
This is flag, I understand that.
For sure. And I mean, I think that they should be a little bit structured around it. So sometimes they even show you, this is our customer interview. We talk with these people. This is our takeaways from this meeting. And if they do that, then um,
But I think that
I think it's a good sign.
this is coming from a product focused person.
Yeah.
So uh, uh, what I'm just hearing is that, of course, if I want to figure out what's the best product for us, we need to know was this an important enough person that said that, and where did it come from? How should we look at our roadmap, and what should we change, and all of that stuff. I understand that,
Mm.
but from my perspective, looking
Hmm.
most of the time looking at sales, are we understanding our customer, able to sell it? Do we understand what type of value they want, and are we willing to get it to them? So from my point of view, I don't really need to know exactly who it was that said it up until now, because now I'm actually going to start asking that to just see, because that will make me better to understand the product phase. But for me, it's just been okay. What in what we're doing is actually showing that we're getting any type of feedback that is closer to making money.
Yeah. But also I think it boils down to, yes, anyone in a vacuum can say that this is a problem for me. I
Yeah,
I agree what you're saying that this type of feature is problematic. But the question is it keeping you awake at night? Is this top three of your things? Because buyers, they don't want to spend time on everything that's a problem. Yeah, it's a problem for sure,
no,
but it's not as important. I have a limited time, a limited budget, so please solve my biggest problem. And this, I think, is something that sometimes gets forgotten here. And I see this also in the the competitive matrix, where you make two axes here, and you position yourself in the top right corner always. And then, to me, they are usually quite arbitrary. Like, yeah, automation on this scale, and then customer personalization on another scale. These are the most important things for our clients. Is it really? Why did you pick these two axes to do the competitive matrix? I think here what you should do is take the two biggest pain points for your user and your buyer and put these ones here. And if you can position yourself in the right place here, then you're doing something right. But just picking two arbitrary.
I don't think I've seen a single one that looks like what you just mentioned. If I would ask them, because that's the thing, a lot of people forget that there probably is a to-do list of hundreds of things for anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
And if it's not bothering, as you say, maybe don't have to not sleep, but it has to be extremely annoying. And it's worth something they would allocate their very hard-earned budget to spend on it. If it's not on that level, it's not going to happen. And that's also what I usually tell people. You want to disqualify your customers very, very fast. Because you don't want to spend time with someone who thinks, yeah, this is a problem, but it's number 8.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll wait. I will keep you in my CRM, but I won't work with you for a long time, because unless this is the other ones are coming away and this is still going up, or if it's still going to stay on 8 in 2 years or 5 years, that's not interesting. It has to be top 3. That also the management team, because a lot of times, even if you're able to get a decision maker has their own budget, if they're employee and they not in a situation that they feel like I can do whatever I want to do, they need to get other people on board as well. And it has to be on their accumulative top 3.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
That's
And
not that often happening.
Exactly. And once again, getting back then to what we talked about before, like, who are you talking to? Because it's one thing to say that, yeah, my user is this kind of administrator or something like that in a company. And sure, they can say that this is a really big problem for me, but is it really a problem for the person with the budget and the influence to sign the deal and the order? That needs to be taken into account too. Yeah. Yeah, interesting.
It is. I love it that I'm learning things when we talk. It's not just us sharing knowledge. I'm actually growing when I'm standing here talking to you. That's good.
Yeah, the same. I think one of the biggest insights I got so far from this is that when you said that all salespeople are lazy, you shouldn't hire senior salespeople. But still, you're in because you have a problem. The company doesn't have revenue. We need revenue to survive. We need revenue to show that we are growing. What should we do? We hire someone that can create revenue. That's like the very, very short answer and the very narrow-minded answer. Because yeah, sure, the salesperson is going to make someone sign the order or the contract, but they can't be the ones who knows what solves the problems, because that needs to be a product that you built or a service.
This might not be a good metaphor, but it might work. I like football a lot, so I'm going to use that. I am a Milan fan, and in Milan right now we have a player called Olivier Giroud. He's a French. He's one of the best players ever in the world. Won World Cup, he won Champions League, won everything. He's won everything. He is 37, 38. And since he's 37, there's pretty much no one who wants to give him a contract, even though he's one of the most decorated players and still very good at what he's doing. They're more than willing to pay a lot for someone that's 19 that hasn't proven anything. So in the sports world, it's very easy for us to understand that people that are young, high potential, and determined will pay for that. But when it comes to sales, we're going to go to, let's say we're going to go to Zlatan now, who's not even playing anymore. I want Zlatan. But if you want to make goals in the highest league, no matter how good Zlatan is, he will not be as fast anymore as he was 10 years ago or 15 years ago. So he can't play the same way. He will be smarter, but will he do more? And Zlatan is a bad reference because Zlatan is working like crazy. But just if you look at any other senior, older attacker, they won't, because they have to play different.
Yeah.
And in a stage when you're a startup, you don't have that time.
No. You need to have a high activity.
Very high.
Per time unit, because you don't really know what is going to be successful. And obviously, you shouldn't be pounding your head with the same problem or the same solution over and over again and think that, oh, let's retry it for the 10th time, even though it failed 9 times before. Then maybe you should move on. So there is a certain extent that you can work smarter. But I think I actually fell into that fallacy once when I had my own startup for a while, and my co-founder and me, we were like, well, we should work smarter than the people that are 10 years younger than us because we are older. But the reality was that you're not that smart, that you can make up for higher activity. And we both have kids, and we thought that like we only need to spend 40 hours a week. We don't have to spend 80 hours a week, and it just didn't cut it. Or well, that was one reason, but still, I think that mentality that you can be so smart that you don't need to work hard, very dangerous.
That's the very thing. And I saw a post with Paul Graham today where he just
Mm-hmm.
said, if you have someone who's 100 out of 100 smart and you have
Mm.
someone who's 100 out of 100 determined, when you start to bring it down, maybe take it 1 or 2 down or 3, if you start to bring down on determination and smartness at the same time, you're gonna hurt way more if you bring down the determination.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're gonna have a super smart person who doesn't do anything, and there are not enough space in companies in an early stage to have that.
Yeah.
So what I just want to emphasize on what you just said, I think it is possible to be smarter when you have more experience, but a lot of time people say smarter in a sense of not working. What you have to do is you have to be smarter, but also do the work, and then
Mm.
it's going to potentially be better. But it's not a
Mm.
substitute. It's
No.
something you have to do. It's a complement.
Mm.
And that's something I think a lot of people forget. They're like, oh, I know what to do. I can only do this for 4 hours. And even I say that sometimes to customers of mine is that, do you want me to do all the time to pay for me in between the meetings, or you want to pay for me when I'm in the meetings?
Mm.
And I say, oh no, when you're in the meetings. Okay. So if we have 10 meetings a week and you pay me for 10 hours, is that what you want to do? Yeah. Okay. Then it costs this much. Because all that work in between you don't care about, right? No.
Yeah.
But they have salespeople on their salary or on their whatever you call it that are paying a whole month and have 3 meetings a week. And I don't get that because they're not fast enough. They don't want to do it.
Yeah. No.
The
No.
laziness.
So work ethics is important.
Yeah. Determination. Cool.
Okay.
Did you
So what? Yeah.
your initial question? Do you think that we answered that for you?
Maybe not. Maybe we have to recut it a little bit. But I think the conversation was interesting. Mm.
Good.
Yeah.
And just so you know, we chose this topic because one of our followers, we have actually had meetings with our followers, and we want you to be able to interact with us so we can actually know what you want to do. They asked us about this very thing, and that's why we addressed this topic today. So
Mm.
if you want to learn with us, just shoot them in, and we'll answer it sooner or later.